Hello folks, Rolf here, and in this video I'm going to take you on a quick tour through Xcode, the software that you will be using once you start creating your own apps for iPhone, iPad, macOS, watchOS, Apple TV, you can't name it, everything can be done with Xcode. Xcode is free, you can download it from the Mac App Store. It's Mac only actually, there's no version for Windows, there's no version, at least not at the moment, for iPad. So in order to use Xcode you do need to have a Mac. The current version of Xcode I'm using in this video is 10.1, but most things I will be discussing with you in this video will probably apply to later versions as well. And as said, I'm going to take you more or less through the workflow that I myself use when I work with Xcode to create or change, edit, update my own apps. The first screen you actually see is this window, and if you don't see this window when you've started Xcode, it's probably because you've ticked off this specific checkbox over here. You can get it back by choosing the window menu in Xcode and then the welcome to Xcode option. That's the way to get back to this small window. On the right side, it's empty right now, but once you start to create your own projects and playgrounds, you will see them listed here in the recent project part of this window. For now, we'll be making a very small Xcode project. This is not about programming this video. This is all about the tool that you will be using, Xcode. So we're not going to do too much fancy stuff here. The typical app you will build, or the typical option you will choose when you start making your own apps, will be this one, the single view app in the iOS category. You see, you can build watchOS, tvOS, macOS, and even cross-platform apps as well. For now, we'll be focusing on iOS, and we'll take the very first one, single view app. It will then start asking you for a few things. Not everything is important. These might actually be switched on, these two, if you've just installed Xcode. I'll switch them off for now. We don't need them for this demo. What you do need is an organization name, well, at least what you need is an identifier, something that Xcode will use to eventually create a so-called bundle identifier. Every app in the App Store has a different bundle identifier, and that's built up from most typically a reversed domain name, like you see here, appbuildersacademy.com, just reversed. This, I think you can actually leave this on blank. I don't think you don't need it, so let's just take it out for now. Yeah, you can actually leave it blank. I'll put it back there anyway. Make sure the language is Swift. If you have used Xcode before, and if you actually upgraded from an older version of Xcode, this might still say Objective-C for now, since we will be building apps in Swift in all the other videos on this channel. You might actually want to put this to Swift as well. The other stuff, just leave it as is not that important. The next window you'll see is basically asking you where you want to put all the files that come with this project. And if you know what Git is, if you ever worked with Git or GitHub, you could switch this one on. For now, in this video, to make things as less complicated as possible, we'll switch it off. I'll just create the app for now. Since I've already entered the name, it will now, and I put it on my desktop, it will now place a folder here on my desktop, which actually contains all the files that are part of this, this project. And those files, or basically of the app once it's been compiled by Xcode. And you see this one here, the Xcode project file. That's basically the file that you're looking at right now here. All the settings in this file can be changed in this editor pane, which we won't be doing today, not in this video. Just want to let you know how this works. All these files here are part, as you can see here, from the demo folder. And you'll see them here as well in the demo folder. You see most of them are there. The assets, as you see here, it has a nifty icon here. It's just a directory. Actually, it's nothing else. And if we actually start putting files in this thing, whatever this thing is, we'll get back to it in a later video. Those files will show up here in this folder as well. It's not that complicated, really. For now, let's focus on Xcode. The first thing we'll do is actually make this screen as big as possible, as large as possible, so it takes the whole screen. And if you are looking at this video on a smaller screen than the one I'm using right now, this all might be very, very tiny. So let's start with an important setting now, which you probably, maybe you want to copy that setting for your own apps. It has to do with the font size. And once you select fonts and color, what I actually did, I went to the preferences menu. I did that by pressing a short key, Control comma, as you see. Sorry, Command comma, that is. This is not a Windows machine, this is a Mac. It's this option, the Preferences menu. You'll see me pressing and hear me pressing a lot of short keys, which is, in my opinion, the best thing you can do, because it saves you a lot of time and actually a lot of energy as well, since you don't have to think about where to put your mouse, which menu option to select. Once you know, let's say, about 10 short keys, in Xcode, your life gets a lot simpler. So the first thing I'll do, I'll switch this. This might be the typical one actually, and probably right now it will be the dark one, but the typical one is this, which is very small. So let's change this to presentation, which makes the will make the letters, the characters, a lot bigger for you to see if you watch this video on a smaller screen. Now, let's not delve into this right now. Let's just talk a little bit about what we see on the screen. Firstly, on top of the screen, well, the menu bar is obvious. You probably have seen this one in other apps. The first bar here, the toolbar here, contains a number of tools. Firstly, this is the play button. This is the one you will press once you want to compile your app and run it, in most cases. Now, this one has a menu option as well, which you find here in the product menu. It's the run option. That's the same one as simply pressing this button. But as you've seen already, it has a short key as well, a shortcut, which is Command R. And I strongly advise you, it's probably the first one you want to write down, to remember this one. Command R is the way to start your app. We'll get back to that later. This is the stop button. Once you have an app running, either on your iPhone or on a simulated device, we'll get back to that shortly as well. You can press this button in Xcode to stop the app. And this one, just like the run button, like the play button, has a short key as well, which you see here. It's the stop one. There it is. It's grayed out right now since we aren't running anything. It's Command period, Command full stop if you're from Britain. And this is the second one I'd really advise you to learn to use from now on. So don't go looking for this button. Don't go looking for this menu option over here. Simply learn to use Command period, Command full stop to stop your app once it's running. This part here shows the active scheme of your app, and we'll get back to that in a later video. For now, just as you can see here, we are now building an app, or actually we have already built an app. Xcode has done that for us, which will be run on a simulated iPhone XR. That's what it is. If you want to have this app run on another device, a simulated device, you can select any device from this list. If your device is missing, you can even download it. There's plenty of other simulators available, for instance, for older models such as the iPhone 4 and 4S if you want to use, or the iPhone 5. If you want to test your app on those devices and you don't own those devices, you can also always download the simulator for that device. For now, we'll just leave everything as is. I just want to show you that this is where you can actually select the device to test your app on. This part here shows information about the status of Xcode, what it is doing right now. As you see, it's not doing very much. The demo we just built, the demo app, is in a ready state, which means that we can either add program code to it, change its layout, start it or stop it. For now, we won't do anything right now. We'll see this change very shortly. Here on the right is a number of buttons to press. You notice these are icons, but you will probably be pressing the buttons. Let's start with the three on the right. These three icons on the right provide access to three parts of this window. And as you can see, two of them are switched on right now. The left pane is switched on and the right pane is switched on. The left pane is called the navigator pane, and this helps you, as its name already says, to navigate through your project. You can either navigate by file, you can navigate by class or function, you can navigate by error, breakpoints. All that stuff will be discussed in later videos. For now, just assume that this leftmost pane is your navigator pane. You can, of course, you could switch it off by pressing this button. You could also switch it off by using an option here in the view menu. Here, navigators, you can just hide them. But as you see, it has a shortcut as well, Command 0. This is not an O, this is the 0 digit. So once you press Command 0, you'll just switch it off. And if you press Command 0 again, you'll switch it on. It's that simple. And another nice feature is that all these tabs, and as I said, this is the File tab, or they call it the Project Navigator. This is the Source Control Navigator, which we won't be using because we switched off Source Control when we created the app in the second window, maybe you remember. This one is the Symbol Navigator, which shows you, as its name implies, all the symbols, which won't mean too much right now probably, of this app. But what I want to illustrate is following. All these tabs, all these, let's say, all these editors, all these navigators have their own shortkey. And the shortkey is actually very simple. It's Command plus then the number of the item in the list. So this is Command 1, Command 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and Command 9. Let's say if you want to go to the breakpoint one, this one is the 8th one in the list, you simply press Command 8, as you just heard me do right now. And since we have no breakpoints, it will show the text no breakpoints. The one I typically use is Command 1, which brings me to the I call it the File Navigator. They call it the Project Navigator, which gives me a list of all the files available. A very quick tip for now, if I don't tend to use this one to get to a specific symbol, there's another way to do this, which is the Open Quickly option. And this is just a tip on the side. If you press Command Shift O, so not 0, but O this time, Command Shift O, you actually open the Open Quickly window here, and I can type whatever I want right now, and Xcode will be looking for something that corresponds to the thing I type. For instance, if I'm looking to for a specific class, or let's say a specific method. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry, this will all be discussed in later videos. Let's say I would be looking for the viewDidLoad method. Now I know that that will be part of this file, the viewController.swift file, but if I have 20, 40, 60, 200 source files that have no idea where it is, or I have actually no interest in looking through all the files to find the right one, I could simply type view and it will already start listing a number of things that have to do with view. I even add the D for did load, and you see there it is. It's the first one, the one in blue. I press enter and Xcode will bring me to that file and even to the line where the function or the method is defined right away. And I can do the same thing for the app delegate. If I do app delegate.swift, I go to a specific file, the app delegate file, this one. If I want to go to, let's say, this function here, or this method, application did enter background, Command Shift O for open quickly, application, and I can even do this. I don't even have to type the application part. Did enter background, that's enough. It's pretty fancy, and it works almost always. It's by far the quickest way to get around all your files. So remember that one. It's called Open Quickly. And to be honest, I don't even know where it is. Is it in this one? I don't think it is. It's probably in the Navigate or in the Editor option here. I don't know where it is. Never looked it up. Navigate could be here. Open in. No, I don't see it that quickly. Well, it's not even that important. Just remember Command Shift O. That's the way to do this. And for now, let's go back to the the editor where I was right now. I can do that by pressing Command 0, for instance, to open the navigation pane on the left. And let's go. Well, I'm here right now. Once I press, I don't even have to press once I use the arrow keys to get to the demo file, the first one, which is our project file. Remember in the Finder, it's this one. Where's my Finder? Here it is on the desktop. Let me see, demo. I'll just go into that one. There it is. This is the one. You see, this is actually the file you're looking at right now. Okay, so that's the left one, the left pane, which is called the Navigator pane. Now on the right here, we have the Inspector pane. And the number of tabs you see here, the number of icons, is actually depending on what you're doing at that moment. For instance, right now we're in the project file. This is also called the project file. There's only 2 tabs, as you can see. And if we go to, let's say, the storyboard file, this one, I'll just click on it for now. You'll see, and it needs to load, can take a few seconds. My computer isn't that quick at the moment, has everything to do with the fact that it's making a backup. Let's just stop that backup. Now you see, once I'm in the storyboard file, I have many more tab options. Now I have 6 of them, you see. And maybe you remember to open and close the leftmost pane, the Navigator pane, you'd press Command 0, you see, it's gone, and there it is again. To open and close the rightmost pane, the Inspector pane, it's Command Alt 0, or if you have an older keyboard, it's Command Option 0. Command Alt 0, I'll just press them right now. You see, it's gone, and another Command Alt 0, it's back again. And just like with the left pane, similarly actually, when I want to select a specific tab, let's say I want the search tab, the fourth one here on the left, I press Command 4. If I'd like to see the fourth tab on the right, I'd do Command Alt 4. And there you go. You see, it's that simple. It's just, you just have to do this a few times and it will become second nature. It's a really useful thing. I wouldn't be telling you this otherwise, to learn these things, to learn these shortcuts. They save you a lot. They will save you a lot of time. And as I said, they'll save you a lot of mind energy as well, brain energy, because you don't have to keep looking for all those buttons and menu options and what have you. Okay, let's go back to the first one on the list, and in the navigator list pane, let's go to the first one as well to keep things easy. Okay, so those are the panes on the left, and that's the pane on the right. Now, as you see, there's another one here, which is the pane on the bottom, and this one is actually called the debug area, and it's switched off by default. Now, again, you can press this button, but there is a shortcut for this one as well. And it's a little bit difficult to remember this one. Let me help you first with the letter. The letter is the Y, the letter Y. And the reason they chose that letter is because you will probably press this short key if you want to know why something is not working. That's why they chose the letter Y. Now, unfortunately, Command Y is gone already, used for something else. So what they did, instead of Command Y, they chose Command Shift Y. So once you press Command Shift Y, you'll see this thing popping up here. Sorry about that. See this thing popping up here, consisting of two different small panes. You can actually switch them off, one or the other. I don't even know what the shortcuts are for those. It's the variables one on the left and the console one on the right, since typically I have them on all the time, both of them. So Command Shift Y switches them off and switches them on, as you see. So let's very quickly review what we've done until now. Command R to press the play button, Command period or full stop to press the stop button. Then we have Command 0 for the left pane, and we have Command Alt 0 for the right pane. And we can take digits as well to select a specific tab. Okay, so that's what we've done here on the top side of the window, and here on the bottom side of our software Xcode software screen, we have Command Shift Y to either hide or reveal they call that the debug pane. Those are basically the most important keys you want to know, but there's a few more of them. And the only one, let me see, how many are there that I still want to discuss with you? Basically only one, is the assistant editor. Now, to demonstrate the assistant editor, I'm going to create a very small app. It basically does hardly anything. The only thing the app will do is basically change the background color to, let's say, green once we click on the screen of our app or tap on the screen of our app. That's all we're going to do. So nothing fancy, nothing really important. I just want to show you another very important key combination. And to do that, I'm going to add something to our app. And what I'm actually going to add, that brings us to another short key. I'm going to add a specific object to our app. And we could do a button, but in this case, I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to take all of the screen as a clickable area. So once you click on the screen, the background color will change. And to do that, we need the library, because we need to select something from the library to add to this project, to add to our app, basically to add to this screen. And the library button, which is new in this version of Xcode, this wasn't here before, this is new now. Previously, the library was put here somewhere on the right on the inspector pane, and it obviously didn't belong there, so they gave it a separate button. And it also has a short key. Now the library, first letter is an L. No, it's not Command L. You have to press the Shift button as well. So Command Shift L will bring you to the library. And this one is kind of context sensitive. If you are working in the storyboard, as we are right now, it will show you objects. If you are working on source code, like in the view controller, let's just use the keyboard to do this. Command Shift O, open quickly. I'll type view controller and press enter to go there. If I now press the library key, which is Command Shift L for library, it will now give me a snippets library. You see, it gives me a list of default code I can simply add very quickly to my app, and it saves me a lot of typing if I would want to use that. Let's go back to the storyboard, Command-Shift-O, main.storyboard. And there we go. Here's the storyboard again. It takes some time to load this thing. The storyboard is actually nothing else but an XML file, which you can also show. Maybe this has nothing to do with saving time or a guided tour. Just want to show you something. We see the storyboard. We tend to see the storyboard as a graphic way to represent our app, right? Now, if you press or control press on main.storyboard, you can also control click. You can also right click, of course, if you have a 2-mouse button or a magic mouse. And you have this option here, open as. And the default, of course, for a storyboard file is the interface builder app, which is now built into Xcode. Xcode, it didn't used to be built in. It used to be a separate app, but it has been part of Xcode for years now. And this is the default app if you look at a storyboard. Now, you see, you can also look at the storyboard as source code or as a property list. Let's look at it as source code, and you'll see this. It will change, and the first line you see actually is that it is an XML file. You see here XML over there, which shows you that the storyboard is nothing else but an XML file. Now, once we add something to it, you will see that appear in the XML file as well. And if you would make a change here, which is a difficult thing to do, but you can do it, you would see that change reflected in the graphical storyboard as well. You might actually be able to press this back button here to go back to where we were, which was not that one. I pressed it twice, sorry about that. Here's the storyboard in App Builder View, which is the typical storyboard. Now, as said, I wanted to make this clickable. And to make it clickable, I'm going to add something to it using the library. It's not going to be a controller. It's not going to be a visible object. It's going to be something entirely different. It's going to be a recognizer, or rather a gesture recognizer. And one we're looking for, basically the first one is a tap gesture recognizer. And this one works very nicely. The only thing it does, it recognizes tap gestures. So once we've added this to our view controller here, basically to this view, to this large white thing, which is a screen for some people, it's a view for app developers. Once we've added it to the view, we can link code to it, which is exactly what we will be doing in this demo. So I'm going to take this one and just drop it or drag it onto the view. You see, I did that with the mouse. So once again, I press Command-Shift-L to open the library. It will remember the last one. If it doesn't, if it shows this one, you could, of course, after pressing Command-Shift-L, start typing tap, and it will go to the tap gesture recognizer right away. So there we go. I'll let it go. And now our app has a tap gesture recognizer added to it. Here it is, you see? It's basically added to the view, even if you wouldn't say so, because it's not part of the view hierarchy. It's still part of this specific view. And now comes this other shortcut that I wanted to show you, or shortcut that I wanted to show you. Because what we need to do now, and this is something you'll see me do time and time again in next videos, upcoming videos, you need to make a connection between this tap gesture recognizer here in the storyboard and some code in our view controller. Because what we want to happen is the following. Once someone taps on this screen, which actually means once someone activates this tap gesture recognizer and the recognizer recognizes that a tap was made, some code needs to be executed. So we are going to place a link, a connection between this thing and our view controller class to make sure that it can act on that tap that the user can perform. Now, how can I make a connection between this one and that file? I can try to drag, so I control drag from here to there. It's not really working that well. I'm going to do this. Well, I'll show you how it's done. We need a second editor. And you could actually open this file, the view controller file, in another window, but there's an easier way to do it using this one, the assistant editor. And you can press this button, but you will be using this or doing this a lot of times, which makes it very obvious for me to tell you that there's a shortcut for this, or shortcut for this, which is Command-Alt-Enter. So I pressed Command-Alt-Enter, and you see there's a lot of panes and windows here right now. So let's move or remove a few of them. Command-0 for the one on the left, Command-Alt-0 for the one on the right, And now I only have 2. Okay, let's not talk about this one. It's called the document outline, but let's forget about it now. I now actually have everything I need. I have the document outline here. I also have my storyboard here, and these 2 belong together actually. If I take another file here, it's no document outline. And I have the class here as well. And you see, I didn't even have to select which file I wanted to have here, because the assistant editor is smart enough to figure that out most of the times. And there are some files, let's just put it back for now. I'll tell you how to do that a little bit later. Let's say I'm opening the navigator, the project navigator, by pressing Command 1. Let's say I would have taken from this file, the assets file. Okay, let's say I've taken this assets file. Let's not go into assets right now, just for purpose of demonstrating this. I'm now going to press Command Alt Enter again. And look what happens. I just get a file. It has nothing to do with this specific asset thing. It's just the last thing that Xcode remembered. That's why it showed me. Now, if I change the contents of this one to, let's say, info.plist. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. I wanted to change the contents of that one, which I can do actually by alt-clicking. So I alt-click to info.plist. And now I have a completely different one here. Now, let's see what happens if I close it. I'll tell you how to do it shortly. Open it again. It still remembered it. Now, if I want this to reflect the view controller code, it's very easy. I just click on main.storyboard, which selects the left one. I close this. There's the storyboard. I open it again with Command Alt Enter. And now it will, I typically would have done that. Sorry about this. If it doesn't do it by default, you have to do it automatic here. So that's what I wanted to tell you. That demonstration didn't work. The automatic option here will show you that Xcode will do what it can to find the best file for that, or the best assistant file for this specific other file. That's in this case, it's our storyboard. So to make a long story short, originally we had our view controller here. We want to do something with that view controller. We want to make an action that belongs to this tab gesture recognizer. To do that, Command Alt Enter, there we go. And now I have 2 edits at the same time. Now the only thing I still need to do is make that specific action. And to do that, you control drag, or you drag with the right mouse button pressed. I'll control drag from this tab gesture recognizer to somewhere in the source file. And you see, you see something popping up there. Here you go. Let me go. There it is. See, you can't do it everywhere. See, Xcode is smart enough to see when you can do something and when you can't do something. And I tend to put actions always on the bottom of the class definition. You can put them anywhere you want within the class definition. You can't put them, actually you could put them, no, you can't put them without a function. That would not make sense. This would be silly. So you don't want to put them there right now. You basically want to put them as a separate code block, which we'll do, completely separated from any other stuff in this class definition. So there we go. I'll let go of the mouse button, and Xcode already knows that I want to connect this thing to a specific action, and I have to give this action a name, and the action is, I think, is actually nothing else but the name of a method. And what we want to do, we want to change the screen color. So let's call this action change screen color. So there we go. And I could even change the type. Typically it would be any, but you can also change this to the UI tab gesture recognizer class. And if you don't change this, it's fine as well. We won't be using it anyway, but I always tend to change this so I can see what was responsible for this this action. There we go. And now we have, you see, an IB action. You see this thing, this weird code here. Actually, I'm going ahead of stuff I'm going to discuss in following videos, but this is basically an Xcode thing. It's actually for Interface Builder, you know, that other app that actually creates all these nice graphical views. Interface Builder command telling us, or telling Xcode, that the function, or method in this case, actually belongs to something in Interface Builder. In this case, it belongs to this tab gesture recognizer. And the interesting part is that everything here, in between these two brackets, curly braces, will be executed once the user taps on the screen. And we'll write the code now as well. We could actually close this window and do it in the view controller. That's probably even better because I can show you some other key combinations. Let's start with how to close this assistant editor. The way to do it, the way to open it is Command Alt Enter. Maybe you remember. the way to close it is Command Enter, not Command Alt Enter. Don't ask me why. It simply doesn't work. I don't know why they choose 2 keys for this, why they didn't simply decide to choose 1 key, because now you have to remember 2 key combinations. So Command Alt Enter to open the assistant editor, or to open the second file in the assistant editor, and Command Enter to close it. It's a very weird thing. I don't know why they chose those 2. If I would probably have changed them the other way around, Command Enter to open and Command Alt Enter to close, but they didn't. You can change, by the way, if you want, you can change all the key combinations using the behaviors option here. The preference option here. Preferences, and you go to key bindings, and you can change all of them. So if you want to, feel free to do whatever you want to do and change stuff. I typically tend to not do this. Always to use as much as possible, to use the default Xcode key shortcuts. But if you feel really uncomfortable with a specific shortcut, of course you can change them. Okay, now we have added this method, which will actually be called once the user clicks on the screen. However, the method doesn't do anything right now because we haven't written any code yet. It's just a method definition with 2 curly braces. And we need to go there. We need to add some stuff there. Now, of course, I could do it the hard way. I could press Command 1 to go here. I could go to the view controller using the arrow keys. And then I could scroll to whatever I want to go to, which is, as I said, it's the hard way to do this. So let's not do it that way. Let's just go back to the storyboard. Let's even close the pane on the left. We don't need it. We're going to use the Open Quickly option. So Command Shift O for Open Quickly. And I know I did something with Change Screen. I think that was the name. And there it is, Change Screen Color. I only have to do Change, press Enter. And Xcode has not only selected the first line, it has actually put the cursor on the right place as well. So I only need to write the code. And this is very simple. As I said, this is not about programming this video. This is just about Xcode. So let's do that very quickly. I'm going to tell Xcode that the main view of this view controller has a background color property. Background color. One moment. There we go. Background color property. And I want that color to be, let's say, I'll just pick a standard one, a default one. I think cyan is one, right? Isn't that a default color you can actually use? Let's see if it is. We'll find it out very shortly. There it goes. Well, it turns out to be one because it's blue. So this is default color. Now, this is it. Actually, what we could do to make things even a little bit more interesting, we can keep clicking that way. Let's do the following. We say, if the current background color of this view is equal to cyan, in that case, we'll make it black. Let's say we'll make it white. We say viewpoint background color is white. Else, we'll make it cyan. Viewpoint background color is cyan. Okay, that's it. That's all the code we need to write. This could be done. I know if you're a seasoned programmer, this can all be done in one line, but to make things simple to look at, we're going to choose this way. And again, as long as your code works, it doesn't really matter if you use a one-liner for this, or as we did 5 lines, it really doesn't matter. Okay, that's it. We're done with writing the code. We should now be able to test our app, and let's see if it's working. And I'm gonna, because I'm actually on a pretty slow machine right now, I'm gonna take, we actually have to get rid of this warning very shortly. Because never leave code with warnings in it. We have to change that. I'm probably going to pause the video since it might take some time to compile this. And well, the compilation is done now, but it might take some time to start my simulator. And I'll see you in a few seconds once the simulator has started. There we go. You see, it's taken a few minutes. I think I left this, I put the pause, I pressed the pause button at 7:30, and now we're at 7:33. And the reason for this is not only my slow computer, but it's the very first time I actually started this simulator, and the simulator itself needs to reboot as well, which takes some time. A quick tip, by the way, if you are testing your own apps in simulators and making changes and updates and what have you, you probably don't want to quit the simulator app. As you see, we now have a different app. Here is Xcode, still there. This is Xcode, and here is the simulator, so it's 2 different apps. Now, you can, of course, decide to quit the simulator using the quit simulator option in the menu or pressing Command Q. That's probably not something you want to do, because the next time the simulator needs to start again, it probably doesn't need to go through the reboot stage, but it's still going to take much more time than you need. So I recommend you simply leave it on until you're completely done with your development for today, for that day, And then you can, of course, just quit both the simulator and Xcode. Now, let's first see if the app works. You know, we changed it for the background color to change to cyan. Once we press and click, and you see it actually works. And if I click again, it changes back to white. Okay, it's that simple to make a very, very, very rudimentary app, but as said, it's only a proof of concept. Now, we are not in Xcode anymore. We are now using the simulator. And just like Xcode, the simulator has a menu structure. And just like Xcode, the simulator has a number of keys you can press. And I'm going to walk you through the most important ones. Firstly, to rotate the screen, which is rotating to right, is Command arrow right. It's that simple. And back would be Command arrow left. You see, those are the two, Command arrow right and Command arrow left. And you find those options in the hardware menu. Here they are. Here they are. Rotate left and rotate right. Another one you definitely want to know is the home key, which is not Command H. That one is gone. Command Shift H. So if you press Command Shift H, you'll return to the home screen. Basically, the app is still running. It's running in the background right now. That's why Xcode doesn't even notice this. But the app right now is, since it's running in the background, you can press on, and this is basically tapping, as it were, on the demo button to go back to the app. So, and those are, well, there's some more options, but those are actually the most important ones. And you can zoom in and zoom out. I'd leave it to you to find out the shortcuts for those. Typically, the ones I tend to use are Command arrow right and Command arrow left, for instance, to test if everything is on the right position, if I have used auto layout, or if I'm using and testing my app on other devices. So Command arrow, those are pretty important. And another key you want to know is Command Shift H to get back to the home screen to test background functionality. But said, there's loads more. You can find all of those here in the menus of the simulator. Okay, now how to stop the app? You typically will not want to stop the app by quitting the simulator, by pressing Command Q. I told you why. It's going to take you a lot of time to start the thing up again once you've made a few changes. There's a better way to do this, and that is, once you're in the simulator and once you've tested what you wanted to test, you press Command Tab, which is not an Xcode thing, it's not a simulator thing, it's a Mac thing, to get back to Xcode. You see, so I'm now in the simulator, Command Tab. I'll just leave the tab, I'll leave the command button, and I get back to the Xcode screen, just like I come back to the simulator. You've probably seen this one before. Now, Command Tab brings me back to Xcode, and now in Xcode, I can stop the execution of our app. So not the simulator, but the execution of our app by pressing Command period, Command full stop, which is effectively the same as clicking on this button. Okay, so Command period, there we go. Now the app has stopped, as you can see here, finished running demo. If I now go back to the simulator by pressing Command Tab, you'll see the home screen. And here's our app, by the way, you see. There's no fancy icon yet because we have to develop those things. We have to build an icon and we have to add it. And where you would add this icon, by the way, is here. We'll get back to this later, but Command 1 to get to the file navigator or the project navigator. And here in the assets folder, you see this app icon thing? Here's where you put the icons. If you put icons here, you'd see icons. It's that simple. Okay, that's it as far as Xcode is concerned. Oh, yes, one thing, the warning here. You see there's a warning there. We want to see what the warning is. Now, warnings and errors have their own tab in the navigator here on the left. You see it's the same one. It's almost the same icon as the badge over there. And you can count, it's the fifth one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which means if I press 5, you see, there you go. And it says here, capabilities for demo might not function correctly because its entitlements use a placeholder team ID. To resolve this, select the development team in the build settings editor. Blah, blah, blah. The reason for this is the following. And very often, okay, kudos to the Apple team for building such a great piece of software. But some things, sometimes messages are a little bit cryptical, like this one is. What they're basically telling you is the following. The project file over here has in the first tab of it, the general tab, has an option here to add your demo to your app ID, your app development ID. Let's put it right, your iOS developer ID or Apple developer ID. So you want to create one. It's free. You can make as many developer IDs as you want, I guess. You only need one, and you simply add your developer account here, and then that message goes away. That's nice. The warning goes away. And what's also nice is that you can then test your app on a real device. You can test your app on your iPhone or iPad or wherever you want to test it on, and simply use the thing like any user will be using it. You cannot distribute your app unless you actually pay money. At the moment, that will be $99. That amount can change in the future. One never knows, but that's only relevant if you want to have ads in the App Store. Then you can sign up and pay your yearly fee of $99, and you'll be able to put apps in the App Store once Apple has reviewed them, of course. But for now, we'll just leave this warning. It's not that important. You could the warning you could see that it disappears in future videos, because I might actually add my developer account to this to get rid of this nasty warning icon. Something else I want to leave you with is to never ever submit apps to Apple for review when there's warnings left or error messages. Well, there's two you have the yellow ones. There's two types I wanted to say. You have the yellow ones, which are warnings. Your app will still compile. Xcode will still do its thing and compile the app. It will even run. But there's no guarantee that everything will work. Since Xcode has already found problems, there might even be problems in the source code as well, but Xcode has already found some stuff that isn't really 100% correct. So make it, but if it's red, if this one is red, let's make it red. Just let's add an error, which is very simple. Actually, you hear me clicking on this. Okay, I should have used keys for this. Let's go to the change screen color method we just wrote, and let's do this one-liner. Why not? Let's just turn this into a one-liner, just to show you that it can be done. And a one-liner would actually be this: view.background background color is, and there we go, view.background color is cyan. Then we'll make it white, and otherwise we'll make it cyan. That will be the one-liner that you might already have thought of. Now, again, this line is fine. There's nothing wrong with this line. Let's create an error here. Let's do this. This is one button. See ya. Now, it will take a few seconds, and there you go. Now we have, firstly, we have an explanation here what's wrong, but we also see this thing here. And if we now press Command 5 to get back to the warning and error pane or tab, you'll see we now really have a compiler error. And this means that there's no way that we can actually have Xcode build this app. It simply will refuse to do so. If I press Command R, it will start building and it will give us a failed. And it says, sorry, you need to resolve this thing. I cannot do it. I have no idea what you want. And until you've resolved this error, I cannot compile this thing for you. Now, unfortunately, I don't think Xcode is able to do an auto fix for us. Let's see if it can fix it. Probably can't. No, it simply says the UI color question mark, whatever that means, has no member called Saya. Okay, that's correct. It does have a member called this. We'll get back to this in later videos. And now it should be running fine. We could test this as well by pressing Command R to build the app. That's the first thing that Xcode will do. Then it will switch to the simulator, which is already running at the moment. It will then launch. It will basically send the app or a binary version of it. It will send it to the simulator. We'll start the simulator. It has now been started. And now we can click and we see the screen changes again. So if you're into one-liners, this is one way to do it. Okay? Okay, that's it for this video, guys. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe and press this bell button in YouTube so you get informed once I release new videos. This video is actually part of the App Builders Academy, a website. There's a Facebook group as well that you can join if you want to ask questions. You can also leave questions under this video. And if you really want to get into this stuff, you might want to take a look at the book I wrote, which you'll find a link to the book under this video and also in the Facebook group, etc. Okay, that's it for now. Good luck with building your first apps and good luck in using all those short keys. Talk to you in a later video. Till then, bye.